The Mercenary Geologist, Mickey Fulp, is well known and highly respected throughout the mining and exploration community for his ongoing work as an analyst, writer, and speaker. Mickey has 35 years' experience as an exploration geologist and analyst searching for economic deposits of base and precious metals, industrial minerals, coal, uranium, oil and gas, and water in North and South America, Europe, and Asia. We met up with Mickey at the 2013 PDAC conference held in Toronto, Canada, and asked for his thoughts on a number of topics. So do you think that stock markets have run ahead of economic fundamentals? Are we poised for disappointment in the coming months?
Well, Mark, it looks to me like we're poised for a correction in the major markets. Now, when that comes, who knows? But stock markets look pretty overbought right now, and with the continued problems with debt in Europe and the U.S., looks to me like correction's coming.
So what's your outlook for the remainder of 2013 for junior stocks?
For junior stocks, pretty dismal. There's not much interest, liquidity is low, there's a lot of companies that are on the verge of failure. And I actually welcome that. I think we will end up in the next year or two with a leaner, meaner, cleaner junior resource sector, and I think that's healthy.
So what, in your view, will cause investors to look at junior resource stocks again?
Well, I think this washout that we see coming is going to pare a bunch of poor companies out, and we'll be left with better companies to make choices on.
So what do you feel will happen with commodities this year?
I look for commodities to remain relatively high, even though the world economy is still a little bit shaky. But China PMI data is very robust right now. So all the way from the industrial metals to energy, I think we're looking at strong commodity prices.
So which are your favorite resource sectors to invest in this year, and why?
Well, I just gave a talk here at PDAC about copper and uranium. I'm a long-term secular bull, so I am always looking for good copper companies and always looking for good uranium companies.
So do you prefer gold and silver as investments, and if so, why?
Well, I don't look at the precious metals as investments or speculation. To me, gold, especially gold, is an insurance policy against financial collapse or a hedge against economic difficulties. So I hoard precious metals when I buy them. So I am one of these guys that thinks should have, if you have net assets, net wealth, you should have 10% in physical bullion in your physical possession.
Last year you made some bullish calls about the uranium sector when people weren't paying much attention. You called out Fission Energy as a potential takeover candidate and were proved right when Denison Mines did make a takeover offer in January 2013. So what's causing this renewed interest in uranium stocks?
Well, the uranium price is pretty beaten up right now, so these companies are probably a bargain, and that might account for some of the merger and acquisition activity. But really what's going on is we use 30%, 25 to 30% more uranium every year than we mine. Now that shortage has been filled over the last 20 years, mainly from the Russians converting megatons to megawatts, so bombs into low enriched uranium. That program ends this year. So going forward, the supply-demand fundamentals of uranium, I think, are compelling.
So do you have some favorite uranium names that you're following?
Yes, I do, and I will give a disclaimer first. I very much like Strathmore Minerals, and it is a sponsor of my website, and I'm a dedicated shareholder. But I would think that Strathmore is certainly a target for a business combination. Now, whether that would be a strategic alliance, a joint venture, a business takeover, or what, I look for consolidation, especially in the western U.S. uranium industry. I think Strathmore is a good candidate.
So is there anyone else that you're interested in?
Well, I will not accept geopolitical risk in the uranium sector, so from that point of view, I look at companies in the western U.S. and the Athabasca Basin in Canada, and very bullish on the ISR, in situ recovery possibilities in the western U.S., specifically in Wyoming. I think Uranerz Energy is very well positioned. I'm a shareholder of Uranerz. In South Texas, I'm also a shareholder of Uranium Energy Corp, which is in production now with very cheap to produce uranium.
You consider copper as a critical metal. Copper price continues to stay elevated. What does a high copper price tell you when economic fundamentals are not so sound globally?
Well, copper has got a PhD in economics, and I think what it's telling us is demand remains robust for copper. 25% of the world still can't turn on a light switch at night. They live in the dark, so and you can't transmit electricity without copper. So from a fundamental point of view, copper is still in demand.
So what are your thoughts on graphite? Do you continue to be bullish, and why?
I am bullish on graphite, but very specific companies. It appears now there's probably room for about 100,000 tons of new flake graphite production outside of China. So I'm always looking for the companies with robust economics that will be in production first.
So are there a few favorite stocks that you'd like to share with our viewers?
Sure. In copper space, I cover and also own Uranerz Resources, a soon-to-be in-situ recovery copper project in southeast Arizona, sponsor of my website, so a paying sponsor, I must say. And also in graphite space, I would throw out the name of Flinders Resources, a soon-to-be graphite mine, certainly we think within the next year, a graphite producer in central Sweden. In prospect generator space, I cover Alvarupa Minerals, a massive sulfide explorer in Portugal with a joint venture partner, Antofagasta Minerals. In gold space, I cover Mawson Resources with a very high-grade gold uranium discovery in northern Finland. And I also cover one of my favorite gold companies would be Brazil Resources, Inc., and they are an explorer and will be a near-term developer of gold projects in Brazil.
So we know you've written extensively on specialty metals. Can you name some of your favorites for our viewers?
Well, as you probably are aware, I don't like very many of the specialty metals, but one that I do is tungsten, and after a 2-year search, I finally found my tungsten company, and that is Blackheath Resources with a couple of really nice looking projects in Portugal that are past producing mines. And I should also mention they're a sponsor of my website and I own their shares.
Great. Thanks for taking the time for the interview, Mickey.
All right, thanks a lot.
Appreciate it. Thank you. To get more great interviews with our experts, be sure to check the Education tab on SmallCapPower.com and be the first to know by subscribing to our daily newsletter.